Hello and welcome to Tech Talks by AdTech. Today we have with us Meghna Narayan, who is the co-founder of Slurp Farm. Hello, welcome Meghna. Great to have you today.
Very, very happy to be here. Thank you
Great.
for inviting us to be part of this.
Tell us a little bit about Slurp Farm because I think, while a lot of us mothers know what Slurp Farm is, a lot of us don't know what Slurp Farm is. So
Of
tell us
course, of
about
course.
yourself and tell us
Yeah,
about Slurp Farm.
sure. So, hi, I'm Meghna Narayan. I'm the co-founder of Slurp Farm. I started this company along with Shoravi Malik. So, we're two very good old friends. We've known each other for about 15 years and had always sort of wanted to start something together. About 6 years ago, she called me and said, "What's the plan?" And I had become a mother sort of about a year before that. Um, I used to run McKinsey's public health practice. Had a very clear, sense of what was wrong nutritionally in the country, and especially sort of for that first 1,000 days of a child's life. And then when I had my own child, all of this became real. Right, feeding a child is really not trivial. They're eating so little, so you have to make sure that every bite that goes in is super, super nutritious. And I worked with sort of my grandmother made product from basically for my child to eat. And so when Shorvi and I started talking, she was sort of in the process of, she was pregnant at the time, and we felt this was a good problem, right? Especially to solve, right? Because when you go into the grocery sort of supermarket, all you see is products which are, forget for children, you see products which are filled with maida, chini, dalda, and vast quantities of additives, preservatives, colors, and flavors, which frankly is good for nobody, forget young children. So we felt that this is an opportunity and a really a problem worth solving, right? And we knew that we're not alone. And no planet on person, parent on the planet, mother or father, wants to feed their child something suboptimal, right? Everybody wants what's best for their child. And I think the awareness that that first 1,000 days is really important, the awareness of breastfeeding and how important that is growing. So we felt that this was, it takes, 10, 15 years to build a brand, but we felt that, this was a good thing to dedicate our life to. So we're two mummies on a mission to get Indian kids eating better.
Awesome. Two mummies on a mission. I love that. So I understand that when did Slurp Farm start? When did you start with Slurp Farm?
So, I quit my job, and we both quit our jobs in 2015. It took us a year and a half, 2 years almost to get the product right. So we launched towards the end of 2016, early 2017. And we've been in the market now 3.5 years. And we make basically first foods. We make organic single grain powders that you can make into porridges, like smooth porridges. We do multigrain cereals. A lot of what we make is very sort of traditional recipes. So we work a lot with traditional super grains like millets. So we do stuff with ragi, with jowar, with foxtail millet. We make an amazing sattu mavu, which is basically 7 grains. uh, Sattu being healthy, Mau means flour, and different sort of grains and almond and mixed up, which is basically it's stuff that you know your grandmother or my grandmother would have made. We do the sort of the sprouting, the roasting, the grinding, the roasting, the blending of the 7 grains, as opposed to doing having 1 or 2 grains that you would do at home, right, on a regular basis. And we also make, as your child grows, we do dosas, pancakes, all millet based, snacks as well. It's almost like our product development has grown as our children have grown. So the portfolio is about 25 odd products now. And that's what, when we sell primarily online, through our own website, e-commerce portals like Amazon, Big Basket, First Cry, very soon on Flipkart and Jio, of course, and in about 600 stores across the country, primarily in Bombay, Bangalore, and Delhi.
Awesome. So you've been growing with the consumer, literally growing with as the child grows. So Meghna,
Correct.
tell us something about, like, this is an FMCG brand, and while we've seen
Yes.
so many technology brands and other kinds of brands in the startup ecosystem, what were some of the key challenges for you as an FMCG brand in the Indian ecosystem?
Sure. So the first challenge was, neither Shoravi nor me are food technologists or food scientists of any kind. We read a lot of books on nutrition, but really making a product that is not standard. People have always tell you that making the product is very easy, selling it is hard. But if you are trying to make a non-standard product, which has not been made for, sort of hundreds of years in this country, then you have to teach sort of the manufacturers and the sort of food scientists what the new boundary conditions are. And I think it took two outsiders really to the food industry to make a food industry insider would have never made this product, right? Because they'd been like, it's too difficult, it's too complicated. But we're like, no, that's what a child needs. Just because it's complicated doesn't mean it's wrong, right? We have to figure out a way of making it. So I think I always say that first mountain that we climbed was the manufacturing mountain, right? Because really understanding these traditional grains, how to use them, how to cook them, how to process them in the way that they are not over processed, and they're maintaining their nutritional value, was something that we worked very hard on with a whole bunch of people, from food scientists to pediatricians to nutritionists, to be able to make these products. And now I would say we have the challenges of any FMCG brand, right? Which is, increasing distribution, getting your product into the hands of as many people as possible. But I think I will say one thing. I think the time that we started Slurp Farm was a unique time in this country's history, right? Which is, Amazon was just launching grocery in India. At the end of 2017 is when that happened. Even a decade ago, even 5 years ago, when you launched a brand in India, you were building store by store, right? That changed, and that's why you're seeing this slew of D2C brands now, which is amazing. So and we're benefiting from that, benefiting from that ecosystem that's getting built out as we speak.
Absolutely. I think D2C is the biggest market and the biggest trend, if I can call it that. Uh, Meghna, we've seen this revolution towards healthy eating for the last 10 years. We're talking about going back to our roots, going back to our basics. Like you said, you're
Yeah.
producing products which are just like an easier version of what my grandmother used to make. And clearly, I've also fed my child similar stuff. Uh, how big do you think is this market for health foods? And do you, one, the market is big. I agree. I think both of us
Yeah.
agree on that. But are there opportunities that are still there, which are untapped, that you think are things people should go after?
So the evidence is very clear, actually. The need is even clearer, right? You know that there are 25 million children born every year in this country. And we have some of the worst health outcomes in the world, right? 9 out of 10 children are protein deficient. 1 out of 3 children is either malnourished or undernourished, or obese. And this is across income groups, not just, India is a poor country, hence poor people. No, this is across income groups. We have these problems. So the need is very clear. In terms of the opportunity, if you see the way health food brands have been growing, it's on double-digit rates versus traditional brands that have been growing at single-digit rates. Of course, the base is smaller, so you're seeing that growth. But I think you're seeing it because everybody now knows somebody who's diabetic, has cancer, cardiovascular disease. This is not something that's happening to somebody, the neighbor's neighbor. It's in our houses. It's in every home, right? And nobody wants that for their kids. So they're beginning to think about, how do I, sort of change daily eating. So we always say, pay us and don't pay your doctor later, right? That's broadly what the difference is. If you do a little bit every day, you have a better shot at a healthier life, and longer life.
Absolutely. I totally agree that, spend on health, do health right now and don't spend on a
Yeah.
doctor later. Absolutely makes sense. In fact, that brings me to brand purpose. And this is a term we've been hearing so much, especially in
Yeah.
2020. We've seen quite a bit of flurry over it, even recently with Tanishq. We saw it with Nike. Um, what is your take on brand purpose? Is brand purpose really something which is an afterthought? You really started with a purpose and then built a brand over it. A lot of brands do it the other way around as well. What is your take on brand purpose, and what have been the challenges of brand building and brand purpose together in a D2C ecosystem for you?
So I think, as you rightly pointed out, yes, we've seen a lot of retrofitting happening. For us, it wasn't that way. I was definitely very much, Shirley and I both I was at McKinsey, she was at JP Morgan and in the Virgin Group. We had the dream jobs that, by the way, we loved. It's not like we were unhappy in our jobs. We loved doing what we did. And it was the purpose that made us start the company, right? For our own kids and everybody else's. So, I don't know any other way. I don't know any other way to exist. And certainly it's what makes us go to work every morning. Um, and not just us, we've had many people reach out to us, moms and dads, saying that, I really don't want to keep on doing sort of marketing for a sugar water company. Can I please come and find a way of working with you guys? Right. And this is the magic of having a purpose that people can identify with very closely. It's right there in their house, right? So or in their own in their own health, right? They're seeing what has happened to them and they now want to fix that. So I don't know any other way, I guess, is my answer to you. I think it would be very boring to have to build something that didn't have purpose. And this to me, this is the only way to build. And I think people finally are asking more of their brands, right? They're asking more out of companies. So I was at Harvard Business School, and Nitin Noria, who's the then dean of the business school, said something to us in the first week of class. He's like, business has a bad name. People don't trust business people. You guys have to go out there and change it, right? So, and it doesn't, there's no reason in the world why you cannot build businesses with purpose that help the customer, the shareholder, and the planet, right? So we work quite hard to meet the needs of all the stakeholders, not just not just of the children that are eating, but the farmer. The grains that we work with are climate friendly. um, there's no reason in the world why this can't be a win-win, you know so yeah. Sorry.
I love a
Exactly.
360-degree purpose. I mean, it's
Yeah.
beautiful to hear that. Um, Coming to 2020, Meghna, it's been a difficult year. All of us have had enough challenges. But let's talk a little bit about opportunities. Are there
Yeah.
any unique opportunities that you saw in 2020? How did you make use of them?
See, for us, I think what has happened is, before, health was something people thought about a little bit. Now it is in the drawing room every day. Immunity, health. So, for many brands, they have to go back and build a product, right? You're seeing all kinds of things with haldi in it now show up on the market, from ice cream to, we didn't have to do that. Our products already existed. We just needed to communicate that. So for us, it was a little bit about, they say COVID has done things like, there's two things, right? One, get people online, doing online shopping. And second is get sort of the health agenda right to the center of the plate, if you will. So for us, I would say both those levers has helped us and will continue to do so. I don't think 2021 is going to be wildly different from 2020. It is, people still have to take care of themselves, and today it's COVID-19. Now they've realized that this stuff can happen. It's all around us, right? So we have to fix our lives to be able to tackle these things on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I think 2020 taught us that the only thing we can depend on is our own immunity systems and nothing else, really.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So you spoke about communication. I think you had your products in place. You just had to communicate it better. What are the marketing strategies that have worked for you?
Yeah. So I think, overall, we're a digital first brand, right? So
Okay.
we do all of our marketing is Facebook, Instagram. We work closely with sort of bloggers. We have a very, very active, I'd say, sort of SEO strategy where we work very hard to basically meet the needs of a young parent, right? So with whether it's recipes, food charts, we want to be that place where people can come and not necessarily only to buy product, just to understand, how hard is it to cook with millets, right? The answers on our website. There's a little recipe, there's a video, there are ways to introduce these into your diet, your child's diet, in easy ways that are still yummy. And that's another thing that, I think from the beginning that we learned, that if it's not yummy, we, we will be, people will buy you once, right? And not again and again. So we need to solve for that. So I think I'd say that's what we work quite hard at, is reaching out to people and explaining to people that tasty can be really, really sort of healthy as well. And so demonstrating that, I think what has also worked very nicely is, uh, we are in this age of people wanting to photograph their food and post about it. So every day we get about 50 mums having, sent us a photo of their pancake or dosa in the shape of Mickey Mouse and dinosaurs, and just beautifully. I mean, I'm amazed at what people are able to put together at home. And I would say 1 out of every 3 to 4 posts of ours is a user generated post. It's not something that we have, either sort of, paid some chef to do or anything like that. It's just a mom who's made, and that's what we're trying to do, right? We're just saying, let's make it easy for a mom to make sort of healthy food and put it in front of their children quickly.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you're a digital first brand. Do you also do some amount of offline media? Is that something that you do, or are you a purely digital brand?
No, we don't do. I mean, if at all, we've done a little bit of events. So we do a very. I mean, not this year. It hasn't happened for obvious reasons, but we have the secret Slurp Farm picnic every year in Delhi, and this year we were going to do it in Bangalore as well,
Okay.
where people sign up for it, and they get to know the actual location 24 hours before. And then we organize this really pretty epic picnic, actually, for kids and their parents. It's a day out in a fun location around the city. And so that's something that we do. We also do a lot of mom and baby pop-ups. These are not events that we organize, that we attend, and we have a stall. And it's a great way to meet your consumer face to face, and have them try the product, right? And the magic is in the trying. The moment they try, we know we won them.
Absolutely. I agree with that. The moment you try,
Yeah,
you're hooked there.
correct.
So, what kinds of, so great. So you using digital media to the most. So
We
you
do
tell
digital, but we also do non-digital, which is, like I said, the events and so
events
on,
and yeah,
because we really feel there is some magic in you. You can do digital only. There's no stop. Obviously that's very nice and scalable, but there's something quite magical about meeting your consumer face to face.
absolutely.
We have a lot of moms that work at Slurp Farm, and one of the best compliments I have received is, they're like, "Who are actually the two mothers that run it?" Right? Because in every city we have all these moms who reach out to, who do these events and try, and people try the product and talk to them. So it's very hard to tell who the original two moms are.
Wow, I like that. So, you talking about social media, you're talking about the power of face to face, and I couldn't agree more. Coming from the event space, I couldn't agree with the power of
Yeah.
face. It's very, very important. Um, but what social media has enabled us and what D2C brands have used best is taking feedback from consumers and putting that feedback back into your product pipelines, into your marketing, into all the stuff that you do, into the information you put out. So, can you tell us a little bit about, have you done this, or can you give us an example of how you've done this?
Sure. So we actually, very recently, our brand director Umang Bhattacharya came up with, in some ways, is our brand video. Right. The campaign was, "You are what you eat." That every morsel of food, that from the time from breastfeeding to your first bite to as you grow, you that goes inside of you becomes you. Right, so we have this very beautiful video that he put together. It's a 30-second video that really tells our story, right? Which is, we're really passionate about getting that right. Because if you can get that first 1,000 days right for a child, you really, I mean, the evidence is, there's no doubt, right, in the evidence that this is, you have a shot at giving that child really like a healthy life with less, the probability of diabetes and so on is much, much lower. So, and I guess, so I'd say that video, we sent up, people would, who message us on Instagram, we sent it to them and they would post that video. So we had a lot of sort of customers saying, "Oh my God, this is exactly right," and posting that. And that video, I wouldn't say went viral, but that generated a lot of views, right? And without not a lot of marketing dollars behind them. It's just because it was a beautifully shot video, which told the story very honestly, right? We're like, we have 7 billion people on the planet, 4 of which are sick, either obese or undernourished. We have to change this, right? And people are seeing it, like I said, close to home. So that campaign has done really well. We're going to do something very, very fun for Diwali. The team, our creative team is based out of Goa. I don't know, Goa ke hawa mein kuch hai, because they're coming up with all kinds of quite crazy videos. We're launching a whole series of cake mixes for Diwali, which are wheat free, sort of dairy free and without any refined sugar, but are still like really, really yummy. So to communicate that, they're coming out with a couple of videos, so you'll see those go live as well. And I think what's nice is those videos are always so nicely done that people want to share them, right? So when we share them, they get shared and they get reshared, and that's what builds momentum, right? People are excited about the brand and want to be part of the story.
Absolutely. So any advice to, I've seen D2C brands are getting widespread acceptance in at least the last 4 to 5 years. Any advice? So much so that FMCG brands, your traditional brands are now trying to emulate you guys and they want to hear from you guys and take advice from D2C brands. So
Yeah.
any advice for traditional brands, traditional FMCG brands, what can they learn from the D2C world?
I think for traditional FMCG brands, they already have this inbuilt distribution and immense marketing budgets, right? So I think it's almost for them to think in the way we think about ROI. It's very different. But obviously, there's your consumers at the end of a mobile phone, for the most part right now. They are consuming media, doing their shopping. Everything is right there, right? Literally, I run my life off my mobile phone for the most part. So this is an opportunity like no other, to be able to communicate your core of why you are important to them and why they should care about you. Right? I think this is why D2C brands, in sort of this new age challenger brands, if you will, are able to sort of win the consumer right now. Right? We're just telling that story, and we're telling it honestly, in an authentic fashion. Never before has there been that opportunity to do it so easily. Right? You're shooting videos in a couple of days on the end of an iPhone and then posting it and reaching a consumer. Before, you needed these large sort of big media budgets with movie stars and things like that to make these things happen. You don't need to do them anymore. And have a little faith in your consumer. Actually, you'd be amazed at the content we get from our consumer, right? And literally, sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm so shocked. It's like, is that really just somebody who made that at home and took a photo with their iPhone? So I think there's magic all around. You just have to let it come to you.
Absolutely. I think your consumers are your biggest advocate. It was word of mouth at a time, but now, they're actually creating content and fantastic content for brands. So last question for you, Meghna. This has been
Yeah.
an amazing conversation, such an eye opener. Uh, can you tell me, would you like to pinpoint 3 big trends that the FMCG world can look forward to in the next 5 years? Um,
Sure. So I think one is definitely sort of ready to cook, right? We're seeing a lot of that in the food category, which is that last bit of within 10 minutes, right? So basically packets se pet tak under 10 minutes. That's broadly, I think that category is going to do really well. It's something we are certainly betting on. Um, uh, you know, healthy is will continue to be on the agenda. I think for a while now. Hopefully, that trend grows bigger than my wildest imagination. Is my dream for this country. And finally, I guess like we just talked about, right? Digital, right? This is going to be great fun to see because I think India is just getting started. Brands are just getting started. We're figuring out how to use this medium. I'm on a bunch of groups on WhatsApp with many D2C founders across food, sort of personal care, and so on. And everyone is trying new things and sharing their insights and on what's working. And it's that's great fun to see. So I think we're just getting started, and really, this is a revolution, right? Like this is, in a way, we have access to our consumer on day one that no brands in the past never did. So it's a very exciting time to be building a brand in this country.
Absolutely great. I think couple of years
I think
ago,
there's one
yeah,
more thing. One
yeah,
more thing is that mostly, and I think one of the things that Shorvi and I are very passionate about is that um, India has always been the country which exported commodities and imported brands. We're going to see that change this generation. This generation of entrepreneurs is building brands that can be exported as well, not just sort of exporting rice and spices. That's what we did in food, right? um, this time round there's going to be, I mean, we want to do for millets that sort of the Bolivians and the Brazilians did for quinoa. In South Delhi, you have mums buying that at 800 rupees a kilo, right? So, and I'm like, no, foxtail millet, same nutritional profile, looks even similar, tastes even similar. Try this, right? So we want to do this where that sort of Upper East Side mother is walking into a Whole Foods and buying foxtail millet and a sprouted ragi powder. That's our dream, to take the millet farmer and sort of really tell their story.
I think that's wonderful. Building brands to take them to the world. I think it's a beautiful thought. In fact, at AdTech a couple of years ago, we had this debate, and the topic of the debate was, can brands be built and sustained on digital media alone? And I
Yeah.
think you've just given me the answer today is that yes, they can be
Yes,
built and sustained on digital. Thank you
absolutely.
so much, Meghna. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Uh,
Likewise.